Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to a new week. Um, in the United States, it is a tense start to a tense week, but hopefully everybody's well fortified from the weekend with time with those you love, good food, uh, time spent with some rest, I hope. And of course, as always, sending out a lot of love and gratitude to all of those people who are working as essential care workers and who can't actually just take off at this time when the coronavirus is at an all-time high in the United States. We are also facing the inauguration of the new president this week, which is likely to bring a little bit of further unrest if anyone's been watching what's been going on in the US. But amidst this, we have our practice, and our practice helps us to stabilize, helps us to be in a good relation with all that is and try our best to maintain compassion and equanimity during everything that comes and goes. And I see we've got hi folks on YouTube, hi folks on Facebook, and hi folks on Goddess Temple app. Looks like people are coming in now. I want to show you something really special, really special. So do you see this? This is a hand-lettered copy of the Heart Sutra in Chinese language. This was created, oh, thank you, Holly. This was created by Priestess Heng Yu of the Mount Shasta Goddess Temple. She made this one for me. It's got a wax seal with a beautiful design of like depicting a little scene, and it's got a little lotus stamp and star stamps, and every single line of the entire Heart Sutra has been hand lettered beautifully in gold ink. And I am so grateful to Priestess Heng Yu for sending this one to me. And we are including, she sent me this one for myself, and she sent me 10 more of these. And these are going in the Prajnaparamita kits of the Mount Shasta Goddess Temple, which I'm releasing today. This is just one of the amazing handmade items that will go into this month's kit. So I'll be posting about that on the Mount Shasta Goddess Temple social media today and in the Goddess Temple app. And if you'd like to see what else is in the Prajnaparamita kit, which includes a handmade and decorated altar lamp, a print of Prajnaparamita art by renowned Tibetan Buddhist artist Andy Weber, who this print has created limited edition numbered prints, and this print that was sent by Priestess Tara Honora. The altar lamps are by Priestess Jasai. Priestess Carol sent some baths. I'm contributing a spray and a rutilated quartz, and there's more. Priestess Jamie did a beautiful poster called Phoenix Rising, about kind of coming back to life after prolonged divorce proceedings and all that led up to it. This month's kit is a kit about our tools for survival and self-care. So if you would like a hand-lettered copy of the Heart Sutra, do tune into the Goddess Temple's social media today, where I'll be posting these kits. And now let's listen to, I'm so enamored of J.A.A. Narayan's translation of the Heart Sutra that I'm going to continue with it for another week. I was going to move on to another translation, but I was like, nope, this is my favorite so far. The Heart's Perfect Wisdom. Uttering the sound of the three states of existence, I enter mystic union of oneness with the entire cosmos. In the three worlds, in the three times, my breath binds the sound. Purifying the body, speech, and mind. I take refuge and invoke the awakened mind of the goddess who knows all and hears all suffering. The blessed Bodhisattva Aryatara, from the deep practices of the heart's perfect wisdom, understanding that the five elements of consciousness were always empty, instructing her student Shariputra, she says, "In this world of forms, Shariputra, all phenomena are empty. Form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. Form is not separate from emptiness, and emptiness is not different from form. Always, emptiness is the same as phenomena. Potential or actual form and emptiness are never separate. So it is for feelings, conceptions, perceptions, and consciousness. All phenomena, Shariputra, have the characteristics of emptiness. They neither die nor take their birth into existence. Neither are improper nor shining with purity. Neither are complete nor deficient, in any way wanting. So Shariputra, in that emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, conception, perception, nor consciousness. There is no seeing, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, nor thought. Neither are there solid forms, sound, fragrance, sensation, nor conceptual phenomena. No circle of sight, nor is there a sphere of consciousness. There is no knowledge nor ignorance. Neither does ignorance get vanquished, nor knowledge voided. No long road into aging and death, and no liberation from it. No causes of suffering nor samsara, no stopping on the journey of joy and suffering. There is no clinging to thoughts nor grasping. There is no attainment of anything, as there's nothing to attain. With blissful practicing of the heart's perfect wisdom, obstructions of mind move clear, and the labyrinthine maze of thought impressions and delusions of duality are liberated. In this way, the blessed Bodhisattva Aryatara enters enlightened transcendence. In the three worlds, all on the Bodhisattva path may practice the heart's perfect wisdom, and in applying it every moment, find the nature of mind and enter enlightenment. So understand and see the mantra of the heart's perfect wisdom as the strongest of sorceries, as the most powerful saying of mystical and sacred speech. It is the mantra which smooths over all things, which disperses lies into its light of truth. This mantra liberates all, and it is said like this: Gate, gate, paragate, porosamgate, bodhi soha. Gone, gone, crossed over and gone, completely gone beyond to the far shore, awakened, and all is good. This ends the heart's perfect wisdom. So on Friday, our card was the Karma Dakini. And by the way, I'm sorry I wasn't here for Tara chanting on Saturday. Again, I ended up at taking a class, and it ended, and it was like I didn't have enough time between when the class ended and my work started in order to do the whole chanting. So I had to skip it again. And I may not be here for it again this weekend. I may have to go on a supply run. So, and a supply run kind of usually takes 2 days. So let's watch, wait, and listen. And see, Tara practice will come back very soon. Today, so on Friday we had the Karma Dakini. Today we have the Buddha Dakini. This is the Buddha family of the center. The color is white. Replace ignorance by studying spiritual teachings. I wish that was like in the schools, but that's what we The Buddha Dakini is an enlightened wisdom Dakini. She is associated with Vairochana, the Buddha family of the center, the color white, the element of space, the gift of the Dharma Dhatu, the hand mudra of turning the wheel of Dharma, the poison of ignorance, and the emblem of the golden Dharma chakra. She is that golden Dharma wheel that we see in a lot of Buddhist art, that is one of her symbols. She is also associated with the magical function of pacifying. She's associated with the crown chakra and the first day of the Bardo state. She helps manifest the awakening of enlightened awareness in the mind stream of practitioners, revealing dormant spiritual impulses. She can also grant worldly cities or supernatural powers. So similar to the Karma Dakini, the Buddha Dakini is one of the 5 Dakinis in the 5 Dakini families. I see a question here. Tara Honora, that translation, there's no link. It was given to me privately by the author, by the translator. So that's why it's hard to find it out there. But I can ask permission to share for sure. Okay, so if you'd like a copy of the Heart's Wisdom Sutra, the translation I've been reading last week and then this week, you can just reach out and let me know, and I can ask the author if I have permission to share, or the translator, if I have permission to share. Okay, back to the Buddha Dakini. So when we are in a state of ignorance, that state of ignorance can be both willful and unknowing. If we're in a state of unknowing ignorance, that unknowing ignorance is like a poison, but it's, you can kind of forgive it. Like a child making a mistake. We don't expect a 3-year-old to know how to read. So if you put a book in front of a 3-year-old and ask them to read it, 9 times out of 10, they can't read it. They don't know what they're saying. They're looking at it and they're making like little, baby language, or, making it up. And nobody thinks there's anything wrong with that. It's like there's nothing wrong with a baby being a baby. But when willful ignorance is what's running the show, then that is a problem. And that willful ignorance is what happens when people just choose to refuse to see what's really happening. So we live in a world that's full of suffering. And every day we're given opportunities to either interact with the suffering, acknowledge the suffering, be aware of the suffering, and dedicate the merit of our practice to the suffering. And at the same time, every day, we're given ample opportunity to ignore the suffering. Sometimes we need to tune out what's on the news, or we need to tune out sort of the intensity of the world. And don't get me wrong, I think everybody needs time of that. Not only every week, but every day. I think every day people need time away from the news and the outer, the world outside of their own practice. We need space for refuge. But when we get to a point where we're just like, la, 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 I don't know, I don't care, I don't want to know, I'm not interested, and that is keeping us from seeing the real suffering in the world, then that is when that willful ignorance kicks in. And that willful ignorance is a poison to our spiritual practice. So, think about how many times in one's life, I know I have, walked past a person who was asking for money in the street without acknowledging them, without saying, even saying no, saying yes, acknowledging, saying no, interacting with the humanity of the person, whether you have something to give or not. Think about how many times we've had situations where we feel like, someone we know is in pain or is in distress, and where we've just been like, I just don't even know. I can't help her. I don't know what to do. This card is an invitation to go beyond that self-centered impulse and to find an impulse of greater commitment to wisdom action. Wisdom action will often come across with compassion and patience and care, even if we're not able to do something for someone, even if we're not able to help them in any way, even if we don't have any money to give, we don't have any clout to call somebody and help them, we don't have any ability to find our voice to stand up and say something. There are times when we feel paralyzed by the fact that we don't know what to do, so then we do nothing. That is, that is when willful ignorance turns into poison. So we have to figure out what to do, even if it's to say to somebody, I'm sorry, I can't give you any money right now, or I'll pray for you. That's all I've got right now. Or to say, I can see that you're suffering. I care about you. I want to help. I don't know how to help. What can I do? So let's move beyond the ignorance of suffering today. Let's find instead a compassionate and skillful way to interact with whatever suffering we encounter, even if it means that we have to sort of say, okay, I don't really have the answers here, but I care and I want you to know that someone cares. That is the beginning of actually helping. Because most of the time, not just sometimes, most of the time, there isn't anyone who can actually help us out of our predicaments other than ourselves. Most often, we are the ones who have to help ourselves. But knowing that someone cares about us while we do that is worth its weight in gold. Wouldn't you want to know that someone cared if you were suffering? Of course. So, today, Buddha Dakini invites us to have wisdom, compassion, and to exercise skillful means in our application of that compassion. And so that's our short bit for today. If that's what you were here for, thanks for coming. And if you want to stay on and do Kuan Yin practice, let's do it. 3 prostrations before the shrine. And let's take refuge. Namo Guru Be. I take refuge in the inner teacher. Namo Buddhaye. I take refuge in the great mother of compassion. Namo Dharmaye. I take refuge in the wisdom of the ages. Namo Sanghaye. I take refuge in the community of practitioners. And let's set our intention, a person, place, situation, or circumstance that will benefit from our practice. I'm happy to report that Leslie's stepfather sat up and was able to interact. He has cancer and he had also recently been diagnosed with pneumonia, and he's over 90 years old. And they really thought it was the end, and it may, yet come to an end in time, because all of us die sometime. But he did turn around from the state of being unconscious to being conscious after our chanting for him on Friday, Leslie reported. So holding space for him today, continuing on his journey. And let's recite the four immeasurables. May I be a source of loving kindness in this world and all worlds, bringing a generous heart to all my thoughts and doings. May I be a vehicle of compassion in this world and all worlds, ever mindful and aware of the tremendous suffering of others. May I be a brimming vessel of joy in this world and all worlds, delighting in the happiness of others as their suffering is alleviated. May I be a balance point of equanimity in this world and all worlds, seeing all as equals and all as deserving of goodness. And let's make our offerings. I light this candle as a symbol of the enlightening Dharma way. May it shine brightly for the benefit of all beings. I light this incense as an offering for Guan Xiyin, she who hears the cries of the world, mother of all. Omahu. 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 Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every type of offering, actual and virtual. I confess all my destructive actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in the meditation of all holy and ordinary beings. Please, Guanyin, remain until the end of samsaric existence, and turn the wheel of Dharma for sentient beings. I dedicate my own merits and those of others to the great enlightenment. 108 recitations of Namo Guanxin Pusa, and we're going to be arising within us Guanyin's compassion. And I just want to mention something. Today is Martin Luther King Day, and all over America, people are remembering the famous civil rights leader who initiated a very powerful March on Washington, campaigned and championed for the rights of people of color, particularly African American people in this country. And we're often presented with the pacifist version of Dr. Martin Luther King, and he was a pacifist. He was a man of God, and he was, very much invested in peaceful change. And at the same time, he was revolutionary. And he said things like disobey unjust laws. And he said to stand up to tyranny. And he had a fierce compassion within him. And today, as we're contemplating the wisdom of the pacifying Buddha Dakini, to be in that state of compassion does not mean kind of a flaccid and impotent compassion that doesn't have any motivation toward change or any power behind it. It's actually an activated compassion that we are cultivating, a compassion that goes beyond the mere feel-good state of caring about all beings, and actually is transformational, meaning that we have the capacity to change the world through our compassion. And sometimes our compassion will necessitate that we take very strong positions and that we speak up and that we speak out. So if you feel sometimes like there's a disconnect between your compassion and your social justice commitments, or your compassion and your activism, understand that there doesn't have to be a disconnect. Those two things can come together. They are together in the form of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and his true legacy. And if you go back and you really look at his words, he was uncompromising in his pursuit of justice and welfare, social welfare for people of color. There was no mincing words. He was not ambiguous. So we can find ways to remain in that present, dignified, and deliberate state of compassion, that noble state of compassion, without sacrificing holding principles and working for the greater good. One of the members of the Goddess Temple and longtime Dharma colleague, Sean Bartone, has created something called Engage, which is all about awakened, aware social justice Buddhism, in case you're looking. Sean Bartone, Shaun Bartone, Bartone, Engage, and that's awakened Buddhism, awakened social justice in Buddhism. So now, cultivating that kind of compassion, Namo Guan Shi Yin Pusa. Namo Guan Shi Yin Pusa, 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 Nam mô Quan Thế Âm Bồ Tát. 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 Namo Quan Shi Yin Pu Sa. 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 And in this activated compassion, let's listen to these aspirational words of Yeshe Tsogyo. Wherever there is space, 5 elements pervade. Wherever the 5 elements, the homes of living beings. Wherever living beings, karma and defilements. Wherever is defilement, my compassion also. Wherever is the need of beings, there I am to help them. To the hungry I was heaps of food and all good things, and thus I brought them joy. To the cold and freezing I was fire and sun warmth, thus their joy. To the poor and needy I was wealth and riches, thus their joy. To the naked I was every kind of raiment, thus their joy. To the childless I was sons and daughters, thus their joy. To those who sought a lover I was a loving and attractive consort, and thus their joy. To those who wanted magic powers I gave prowess in the 8 great cities, and thus I brought them joy. To the sick I was their remedy, and thus their joy. To the anguished I was all their mind desired, and thus I was their joy. To those hard-pressed by the punishments of despots, I was the loving friend to lead them to the land of peace, and I was thus their joy. To those in fear of wild beasts, I was a haven, thus their joy. To those who fell into the depths, I was their drawing out, and thus their joy. To those tormented in the fires, I was a quenching stream, and thus their joy. To those in prey to any of the elements, I was their medicine, and thus their joy. For those who could not see, I was their eyes and brought them joy. And for those who could not walk, I was feet, and thus their joy. I was a tongue for those who could not speak, and thus I brought them joy. To those in fear of death, I granted immortality, and thus I was their joy. I led the dying on the path of transference and brought them joy. To those who wandered in the Bardo state, I was their spirit guide, bringing them to joy. I cooled the burning heat and warmed the cold of those lost in the realms of hell. Howsoever they were tortured, I changed myself to shield them, being thus their joy. To those who lingered in the land of hungry ghosts, I was their food and drink, and thus their joy. I was freedom from oppression and servitude for those caught in the wordless state of beasts, and thus I brought them joy. Those beings born in places of war, I protected them from strife and brought them joy. I was a truce from endless conflict for the demigods and was thus their joy. The jealous gods I guarded from their bitter fall, and I was thus their joy. I shielded all from everything that tortured them and was their every joy. Only by finding a way to transcend the smallness that we carry within us can we ever hope to attain the state of largesse expressed in that. But we can hope to get there if we just keep expanding our hearts in compassion, and if we just keep really contemplating the path that we're on and how that path can be of benefit to all beings. So, from our cushions, 108 recitations of Om Mani Padme Hum go out into the world and become everything needed. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 And let's give thanks for our teachers. May all of my blessed teachers enjoy long, happy, healthy, productive lives and great support for their good works. May all beings benefit from their wisdom. May they enjoy a swift and happy rebirth. And long life prayer for Lama Dechen Yeshe Wangmo. Om Sosti. Through the powerful blessings of the immortal Pema Jungye and his consort, may the three secret qualities of the Dakini of Supreme Bliss, Yeshe Wangmo, be utterly stable, and may the light of her activities shine on the lotus groves of the teachings and of beings, so that they blossom in radiant splendor. And let's dedicate the merit. May the merit of this practice and all of my activities be of endless benefit to all beings in all realms, beginningless and continuous. May all obstacles be overcome and suffering cease at the sound of liberation. May all beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all beings have happiness and its causes. May we carry the essence of Guanyin in our hearts. Namo Guanxin Pusa. And we close with a bow to Guanyin, bow to one another, and bow to the inner teacher. And don't forget to send me a note if you'd like me to share with you the translation of the Heart's Perfect Wisdom Sutra by translation by J.A.A. Narayan. It was privately shared with me, so it's not available on the internet, so you'll need to send me a message. Don't put it in the comments. Send me a message so that I don't forget. And then don't forget also that you could have a beautiful hand-written copy in perfect Chinese lettering from a devoted Dharma priestess, Hernyu, of the Heart Sutra as part of the Prajnaparamita kits, which I'll be listing today. Take care, everybody, and act truly in the spirit of Martin Luther King today, and have a rebellious sort of compassion. Be back tomorrow. Bye. See you later, YouTube.